Tired of winning the tailgate, but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squarin Around with Jacob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Squaring Around. My name is Jacob Rodriguez. That's Andrew Zimmel. This is not Arby's. We have the news. They have the beef. Zimmel, I'm kind of happy, kind of sad, kind of glad, kind of mad, just because of the kind of series of events that we've been through thus far.
Jesus, a rainbow of emotions.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, literally,
bro.
like what the guy says in the intro, that's what I'm feeling right now. Like, looking forward to our show, but the highs and lows of being a Texas State fan, for sure, are evident.
I don't know. So, okay, I know where you're kind of going with this. I want you to rank them from worst to best here. So, like, the top is the worst, the bottom is the best. We're going to progressively get better.
I'll say too, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but we just we know what it is right now. You know, it's kind of the springtime blues, as it were.
All right, I'll go first then.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Losing to UTSA is number one.
That's number one.
The women losing was tough. By the amount that they lost by was even worse. That to me is number two, because losing in the Sun Belt Championship, Coach Z told us, hey, regular season matters. Regular season matters. Okay? It matters. So we got our banner. So them losing, it sucks. Losing by the amount they did sucks. Losing to UTSA in anything, it could be a spelling bee, is always going to be worse to me. It's always going to be worse. We could lose in a amateur mud wrestling competition to UTSA. A club team could lose. And I'm going to be like, damn it, boys. Come on. What are we doing? You know what I mean? So, and you saw the tweet, and it got me very riled up. And I was already having a rough night, and I saw it, and it was like slam San Antonio. I wanted to paint my room like Kurt Cobain. We'll put it that way. I was so upset. Now, I'm a different guy. I've tamed a little bit. I think we both agree, Jacob, on Twitter. I'm doing a better job of like keeping my emotions to myself. There's a couple of text threads I'm on where it's like, I would tweet this, but seeing that tweet triggered me so much. And I don't know why. It was just a visceral reaction. That to me is the cap of Mount Crappy. And then losing in the championship is number two. So shout out to the women. They got to that point. They lost. That to me is number two. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I think I would put the women's team at one, though, just because we had so many expectations. And I felt we had done such a great job of covering the team up to that point, like getting them ready for the championship. Yeah, talking to Coach Z before. So to me, it was kind of like, oh, all the things are aligning. And then it's just kind of out of our hands, like at the end of the day.
I feel like Troy was a good team. UTSA is not a good baseball team. And I think that like bothers me too, is that like we should be better than them in baseball. Like, I don't know. What
that was the tweet that bothered me actually too. Because Texas State tweeted out their score. They stopped tweeting it about the fifth inning. If you want to go back and look at the thing, but they always do the wrap up graphic. Final score 11-2, on to the next one, whatever. Under that, there's a lot of UTSA people. If you want to go pick a fight at a bar in San Antonio or online right here, but yeah, one of them was like, I thought y'all were a baseball school. What happened to that? And all these other tweets that really hurt my feelings to scroll through this morning. I'll say the Slam Antonio thing did not hurt my feelings as much because I work in San Antonio, and you know who else uses that moniker? UIW.
Oh.
Yeah. Another really good baseball team.
I co-opted from UIW, huh?
Yeah.
I like UIW. I like UIW when they're not beating us. Put it that way.
I like UIW when we can afford to pay their coaches more and then bring them to Texas State.
Barely. Let's be honest here. It was like, hey, the price on the value menu went up. We got a good coach. It's like, okay, cool. I mean, so, all right. Let's talk women's basketball then.
Let's talk women's basketball. That's where the pain starts.
If you think that's where the pain starts, let's talk women's basketball here. That was a tough game from beginning to end. When did you check out? Let's start there.
I posted 4 videos that day. The first 2 were kind of a wrap up of the men's basketball team, just, team talking about the future, Drew Ginen and coach, talking about stuff, being like, hey, this hurts, but we're going to be back, and kind of a surprise out of nowhere run that the Bobcats had. I think both you and I were surprised how deep they were. First team in the Sun Belt to ever be a 10 seed or higher to make it to the semifinals. So great job, boys.
Which is very cool.
Very cool.
I remember a lot of years where we were a top 2 seed, didn't get to the semifinals.
And then because of my work schedule, this, but maybe people at home don't know this. I go in at 11:30 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, and I would stay there till 7:30. So I cut 2 videos. I did a couple other things. Went on a run. Came back. It was like 11:30 noon, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to sleep for like an hour. I'll wake up. We'll be fine. Wake up, it's 3 in the afternoon. I'm like, oh god, I gotta check the score. We are down by 30. 6 minutes to go in the 4th. Not great.
No, not ideal at all. And look, talking to Coach Z, I think that you can, and I give this to anybody who covers college athletics or who is a fan of Texas State, right? Like, if you talk to a coach, they're never going to give you like the real story. That's why you come to this podcast, because you're going to cut through some of the BS for you. Talking to Coach Z, I think she could convince me that the sky is yellow. Like, she's very convincing. To get that far is a testament to the good coaching and to the senior leadership. But in a game like that, it doesn't really come down to coaching or leadership. It comes down to players on the court. And Texas State just did not have the dogs in the kennel to get that sleigh ride. You know what I mean? Like, they just didn't have it. And it's disappointing, to say the least. I checked out when it was like near halftime, I think. I was like, all right, well, this is fun. This is it. You know what I mean? Like, moving on to the next thing. I did see, and this is the last, we'll put the bow on it, Pensacola, people aren't happy with it. Too far away from Texas State. Start the discourse. Bring it back to New Orleans. Let's get it back. Smoothie King Arena. Let's do it. All-Star Weekend. Why don't we move everything up?
I think there's not going to be a perfect place for the Sun Belt. But I want to go on this diatribe before I go down the women's basketball rabbit hole too. But I think it's kind of hard to place a single city in one deal. I don't know. That's tough.
Not Pensacola.
But I think what the Sun Belt's also trying to do too is like get a place that nobody else is doing and kind of like own that area,
So they pick Pensacola. Whatever. That'd be like, hey, we're going to Orlando. Oh, Disney World? No, Orlando. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Orlando? That's where we're having it? All right.
Going to Anaheim.
Going to Anaheim? Exactly. It's fine. I'm putting it out there. We're starting the discourse. I'm not off this hill yet. People were not happy with how far it was for some of the Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas State fans having to go that far.
I'll say too, the women's basketball JMU team shot 12 from 16 from 3. What do you do when a team does that? When they're Steph Curry or Klay Thompson on 2K? Like, it's ridiculous to try to guard them.
And I think that if he gave those players like truth serum, they probably thought they were going to win the game, which is a testament to good coaching and good leadership. You go into every game thinking you're going to win. You play that game 10 times. I don't think Texas State might win one or two. Like, that's just kind of how the ball bounces. But WNIT, you know what I mean? So like, shout out to that.
I think you can't go into any half down 30. I think that's probably not good. I'm not a coach or anything, but I don't think that's good.
No, that is not good. Good call.
Yeah. But that's kind of the point of all this is that, during the post game that I posted on Twitter, if you're not following us on Twitter, I found a bunch of good nuggets. We find the news and we posted on there. So follow us on Twitter. I'll have all of our deal scrolling during this time, but I had a bunch of good sound bites. But mostly just looking forward to the postseason possibilities that they have.
This was a tough one because I didn't feel like we played our best. James Madison for sure showed up and they played their best. Obviously with 0-0 coming in, Peyton, we talked a lot about the fact that she was, well, as much as you can, right, with a quick turnaround, that she was 6th Woman of the Year, and she really showed that today. She shot phenomenally, and we just did not we weren't able to stop the bleeding. In addition to that, I really felt like we could have done a better job rebounding wise. It was something we needed to do, and that didn't happen either. We struggled defensively today, and you know, one of the things I need to do as we move forward, preparing here for the postseason, is making sure that we're prepared. I didn't feel like we had a good start. And then from there, I felt like we were constantly playing catch up. I asked them what they felt. I agreed with them as well that, you know, I felt like we could have started better. That was a big piece of what we needed to do. And that we have to figure out ways to rally when we hit heavy adversity. But at the same time, it doesn't negate any of the positivity that we've had up to this point. We've had a lot of wins up to this point, right? They've earned that. They've earned a regular season championship as a group. We have all conference players. We're having the opportunity to play in the postseason. All these things are great, and no one can take that away. No one can take that away. One of the things that we've always enjoyed about this particular team is they bounce back. Like there's always been a bounce back with this team. After every loss, boom, turn around, they bounce back, and they respond. And so I'm excited about that part of it. Well, you don't find out till after the NCAA, right? So they have selection. We're back on selection Sunday in women's basketball. Then after that, the WNIT will see who's available, and then they'll seed everybody from there. There's other tournaments as well in women's basketball, so we're just gonna. Yeah. Well, no, not a couple weeks. Next weekend. Yeah, a week from yesterday. So no, it's a quick turnaround.
I'm very proud of us this season. We got a regular season championship, and now we have an opportunity to continue playing even after this tournament. So yeah, we didn't accomplish the goal of winning the Sun Belt Conference tournament, but at the end of the day, I'm still very proud of us. We've grinded, we've worked hard, and we're going to continue to work hard.
They can make any tournament that they want. Obviously, they want the big one, the WNIT.
Except the NCAA. You're like, you can make any of them. Except
that one, the main one.
Would hang a banner.
Yeah.
WNIT, though, isn't bad. They've gone far in the WNIT a couple times now.
Would you take a WNIT championship win?
Oh, hell yeah.
That'd be crazy, right?
Hell yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah. But, you know, the thing is that, like, you win a WNIT, then that is the bar for next year. Like, you win the championship in the WNIT, then the bar is to get to the NCAA tournament the next year. So if you do that, you got to know, like, hey, these are the expectations. You can't have a 15-win season and a loss in the quarterfinal round. You know, you gotta actually like compete and win games next year. I don't know. We talked a little bit before the podcast about I did a story. It's not even a story. It's like one of those lame Bleacher Report ranking deals. Talking about the all-time women's basketball team for Texas State. And at the time I wrote that, I think Kennedy Taylor might have been a freshman or sophomore. Yeah, now she's played like 100 years. So I think that she's on that team. As her career's done, do you think that she's on the all-time women's basketball team for Texas State?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Really?
I think her and Tasha Levitt bumped two people out of your list. I think there's argument, too, for Denasia Hood, to be honest.
And this is where we're going to get into a little bit of trouble. That's three guards. So two guards and a forward.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard. There's a bunch of really good players through Texas State history. We'll make sure we get a link to that story. But it's like, I don't know. I think Taylor's an incredible player, but I'd like to anybody who says that she's on the all-time team. I agree she probably is, but like, who do you take off? You know what I mean? Because you can't have a bench of 40 players. You know, it can't be every single player. So like, who gets kicked off? And the same thing for Mason Harrell as his career ends. So a lot of people asking like, where does he rank all time? You know, it's tough. It's a tough deal. I don't think defensively he was very good. Like, he was good for his size, but he wasn't very good. I don't think he makes the all-time Texas State men's basketball team. And that sucks, like, you know, because their careers just end. But like, I just want to kind of get that on the record that when we talk about these guys, like, yeah, let's appreciate them for what they are, but let's not get crazy on Twitter or on podcasts or anything else and be like, hey, this guy is a top 15 player ever in the university. It's like, well, hold on, let's pump the brakes.
I think it's kind of impossible to, like, if you're not us specifically, to kind of look at a team like for what they are, because we kind of looking at it with the lens of perspective. It's like we saw all the teams that we were covering, and you covered a bunch of the women's basketball teams. So, and then you talked to Coach Z about a bunch of even more women's basketball teams before she got there. When Coach Fox's era was up there, so it's hard to like escape that. I feel too, to be like, well, I know that there's other good people. What do you mean? I saw them with my own eyes.
Yeah, and like, Taylor Deere is one that comes to mind like immediately. Like
Oh, yeah,
that's
she was
one
great
where,
too.
yeah, that's one where it was like when she was in school, it was like, oh, this player is insane. Like this is great.
And if you
And
asked any of, Kennedy or all those girls or ladies, they would
women,
tell you that Taylor Deere is one of the people that they inspired them to come to Texas State.
yeah. Yeah, I like, good shout out to us. International Women's Day, hitting all the women's basketball stories. Good for us, man.
Good nugget from Zimmel. But yeah, I saw a bunch of people kind of freaking out with Mason, like you were saying, like kind of like we got to do something for Mason. We can't let him go out like this. Like people were talking about retiring his jersey. Do you know how many people have their jersey retired at Texas State? It's
We
5.
went through this. It was surprising how, well, not surprising how few. The names that were retired were surprising.
Yeah, and so I'll run you through that list right now. Right, we all know Paul Goldschmidt. He's amazing, still playing.
Shout out Goldie.
Yeah, he deserves everything. He's the first baseball player ever to have his jersey retired. Obviously, missing on this
MVP.
list is Charles Austin. Charles Austin never wore a jersey. He doesn't have a number. If I was Texas State, I would retire number 1 and give it to Charles Austin.
I
And,
would. That's fine.
There's 3 men's basketball players. Everybody knows the first one, Jeff Foster. He wasn't the very first one ever, though. That honor goes to Vernon McDonald, who was, hang on, let me go to his bio so I don't mess it up. But he was a assistant football coach, the basketball coach, and then he was an assistant basketball coach, and then the head basketball coach later on. So yeah, and he also has like an endowed scholarship in his name and all this stuff. He's in the Hall of Honor, I think.
But it should be mentioned Southwest Texas State, right?
Southwest Texas State Teachers College.
I don't think any Texas State Bobcats have had their numbers retired. Is that right?
Yeah, no. So that's also kind of what I'm hinting at too, is that if we're talking about retiring Mason's jersey, like our all-time scoring leader, Nigel Pearson, isn't on this list. I mean, we're talking about a huge standard that Texas State is putting on retirement of jersey. And I'm not advocating even to lower that, to be honest, because the people that we have on there, it's like, duh, like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah, outside of Jeff Foster, I look at it and I'm like, this is insane. You know what I mean? Like these guys are great.
And the next guy on the basketball team, Louis Gilcrease, he was the first Bobcat to be drafted in the NBA. Did you know that?
Yeah. I did know that. I didn't know that because it's a short list for Bobcats.
Yeah, that's
that got
true.
drafted. I think was it to the Lakers?
Celtics.
Celtics. That's who it was. I knew it was one of the legacy franchises.
Yeah, it had to have been. I mean, they were playing.
No, I mean,
have you seen the footage of men playing in, the ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-da? It was exactly like that.
oh yeah. Yeah, no. So Texas State athletes don't have their numbers retired. So no football players, huh?
Nope. And you know what? I think we're better off for it. You know who we could have is the running back on the Southwest team who played for the Redskins before they changed their name.
I think Brian London would have been
Belo
my pick.
too. Yeah, that's fine.
Belo would have been my pick.
But that's like that's kind of what I'm saying too, is that we talked about the BJJ era, GJ era, and there's a whole litany of players that could be added to this because Texas State doesn't retire jerseys. I mean, any era you can make a case for 10 guys to be retired for different
so and I think that Texas State athletics needs to have like a big, like an Elite 8, I think would get you an automatic jersey retirement, right? A Sweet 16 would get you probably a jersey retirement. You need to win something that's like nationally and like really put your school on the map. That's why I think Paul Goldschmidt has his number retired, because if you go through his baseball stats, they're good. Like, I mean, let's be honest, they're great. They're great numbers for Texas State. But winning a National League MVP, that is really the thing that, like, okay.
Well, he got his jersey retired way before that, too.
Well, and I understand that. But
also he had like an amazing season, as a rookie. And then, he just lit the scoreboard up everywhere. So,
yeah, I think that it's like you got to put your school on the map. So, and I think that all these guys are really good. They're in the Hall of Really Good, Mason Harrell included, Hall of Really Good. But I wouldn't retire their number, especially Nigel. You're right. With if we're going to retire any number, it's 22. And I don't think they're going to retire his number. So, which is a shame.
I accidentally scrolled down and I didn't realize we retire or we got a mascot championship. That's crazy. Anyway, the last person on this list is Linda Mulker. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I hope it's not. But she was also in your wrap up too for International Women's Day. I think she was like the number one. She was like 3-time outstanding player of the year. She's a bunch of accolades. I'm telling you, like if you go to any team, just click on all the rosters. There's a bunch of talent. Texas State doesn't win a lot of games, but they have a bunch of talent, and sometimes they go on to do stuff. Is it very often? No.
There's a word for that, or there's a phrase for that. It's bad team, good stats, and there's a lot of bad team, good stats players in Texas State history.
So, is there a future in which Texas State kind of dips down and goes, "Oh, we should start retiring this guy's jersey, this guy's jersey"? I don't think so, and I don't think they should.
I don't think that'll ever happen, because if they were, it would have happened already. Like,
yeah, we've had down years enough already.
Yeah,
so if we were already like, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
if they were going to start retiring numbers left and right, it would have happened probably like 4 years ago. They would have been
Nigel
like,
graduated. Yeah, that makes sense.
Pull the trigger. Let's start getting these numbers retired, because that's a way to get people into the stadium. You know, you do the jersey retirements, you do all those like deals to bring people in. Think how long it took them to put the court name, to have Jeff Foster Court. He retweeted in 99, so 24 years ago. Like, and it took us 24 years to be like, you know what? Let's throw his name on the court. I guarantee you, we're gonna have like Karen Chisholm Day when we finally do something like really special for her, like when we get a statue or something for our greatest coach ever. And I'm hoping that she's around for it. But there's a real good chance there's a hologram. There's a real good chance that like it's going to be in 2040, 2050, that we're like, you know what? We should do something special for her. So it takes a while.
And for the player side, the way that Texas State kind of honors people by not retiring their jersey, because if everybody had their jersey retired, they would have no jerseys to wear on the court, is the Hall of Honor. And the Hall of Honor is a very prestigious event at Texas State. The T Association is very involved.
Where is it? Where is it?
I don't know if there's a physical Hall of Honor.
Okay.
I don't think there is. I think it's more of a metaphorical thing.
Just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
It's a real special event, real cool place. Doesn't exist. It's kind of like the Justice League.
Please
Justice League. You're on the
I'm
Justice
wrong.
League roster. That's incredible.
I know a few Hall of Honor people, so maybe I'll ask around. Be like, hey, is there a place I'm missing on campus? Is there a portal that I just never went into?
Maybe it's like in the end zone. Maybe end zone complex. Maybe they throw some photos up there. But yeah, I don't know.
Or anywhere in the stadium. Honestly, they don't use that place for much. They should do something.
They don't use the stadium for much.
Well, in the breezeway, imagine that would be kind of sick. You know, going through all that.
Give me Boko carrying a flag and the mascot championship year on it.
That's kind of sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Call it the Hall of Honor. What do we like the Pat Tillman like statue, but with Boko?
Pat Tillman, Bo Boko. I like it.
I like it.
So yeah, that's kind of our retired jersey diatribe. I also want to say, Zimmer, we were talking about how good the officiating was during the women's basketball tournament last week. Not just the women's basketball tournament, but obviously we were talking about the men's basketball tournament and how we thought that it was good that the men's team was kind of getting some shots. The other team was getting some shots. It was Georgia State at the time. But, you know, the refs weren't calling everything, which is great. It worked out in the moment. Troy kind of really got screwed. And I normally don't advocate for any other teams, but it's a separate issue when the entire league comes out and says what this officiating crew is bad. I'll say, too, when I was the editor-in-chief of the University Star, President Trouth at the time invited the student government body president, Corey Benbow at the time, the KTSW news director, the head cheerleading captain, the head strutter, all these head people. I think a lot of it was a bunch of different student organizations.
They brought everybody in.
They brought everybody in, and they were like, the one thing
now we got screwed.
They were like, the one thing you cannot do as a student organization, as part of, you know, like the designated free speech areas and stuff like that, is basically talk bad about the referees and stuff, because that's a big no-no from the Sun Belt Conference. And not just the Sun Belt Conference, basically any conference. Yeah, you can't trash, like the University Star or any other public forum can't really trash what's going on, you know?
This is news to me. I've never heard this before.
It's pretty much loosely said, like basically don't do this.
That is,
I don't know if there's any punishment. I mean, I think we talked about it. We had a podcast at the time, and we definitely were like, "This is kind of bullshit that we didn't get that call." But
I've never really complained about refereeing because I think that is such like a baby loser.
I do think that's a lame call. Yeah,
but I didn't know that there was actually like a conversation about like, hey, layoff. Just that.
I think it was more of
good
like
to know, but damn, that's wild.
I think it was more of like a Jacob don't print the refs suck ass in
Hey, we know who you got over there as a sports writer, and we know that he's kind of a loose cannon. Don't let him publicly publish the home addresses of these referees.
I also think it's just kind of a thing that the league tells the student or the president. What am I trying to say? Yeah, student body to do basically, and it's up to them to say like, yes, I checked off this box at the beginning of the season. We're good. So if it wasn't, it would be on me. Like I knew the rule.
It's a double-edged sword. Officiating, there's fewer officials today than there were 20 years ago. There are substantially fewer good officials than there were 20 years ago. There are so many ass-backwards officials. Now, Sunbelt in the last couple of years has done a pretty good job of officiating. I think they got graded as one of the worst officiating conferences. The Troy game is interesting because, like you said, everybody kind of said, like, this sucks. Now, Troy is not like anybody. I don't think there's a lot of teams that hate Troy. I think Southern Miss and South Alabama are like the two rivals. And I didn't see a ton of their fan bases being like, hey, defend the Trojans. Troy has kicked our ass in a lot of different sports recently. I'm going to defend him. And I like a couple of the Trojans guys that I have friends over there, They got screwed. But very famously, the saying goes, better you than me, and better them than us to get screwed over by the referees.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing too, is that like, I would hate it if it was us. Like we would never stop talking about it. We would have a whole weekly segment. We would come back and be like, remember how they fucked us over and we were supposed to be doing something else instead of this? But since it didn't happen to us, it's kind of like, whatever, but also it's just kind of like super shitty. And that officiating crew didn't get any other assignments in that whole thing. So what is that? Like four referees?
You wonder why.
Yeah.
They just got that. You think that, all right, let's put on our tinfoil hats, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, conspiracy theory time. You're in Pensacola. You do one game. You mess up so badly that you don't get any more assignments. You get to spend the rest of the time on the beach. Conversation. Let's have it.
Well, I think if you're a Sunbelt ref, that's not your full-time gig.
I know. So you're just on vacation at that point.
Yeah. Like you already called off the days to work your side job.
Exactly. Let's have it. Conversation. Would you do it? I would.
Just blow a game?
Yeah. Because again, you're saying it's your side job. Maybe they get paid per game. I don't think so. I think
they definitely get paid per game.
Paid per game?
Yeah, because in football, if there's a lightning delay enough, that's why they would post, that's why there's a difference between a cancellation and a postponement, because that same crew is still going to be there that next day or whenever they play, Like they only get played if like there's a result.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe. Side job? Quit Ubering so that you can hang out on the beach? Quit roughing so you can hang out on the beach? I don't know. Conversation starter. Just having conversations over here.
But yeah, that sucked. And the Troy coach had a great response to it. I want to play that out.
Mm-hmm. Were they inbound or were they on the side? Just about close to the table.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Thank you for asking. I'm sure everybody will see it if you haven't already. But there was a reason one person was open. It's because there was one person throwing the ball in and then 5 more on the floor. So that's 6. And so we covered everybody perfectly that we could. But there was one person wide open because there was an extra person out there. And, strange things happen in basketball and with officiating and this and that. Believe me, I know. Look back at our last NCAA tournament. Things happen. But I don't agree with the fact that it wasn't correctable. I don't agree with that because, they were able to stop the game many times for reviewable things. And this was pretty big at the end. And maybe back in the day before we had technology, maybe that could hold true that once the referees leave the floor, nothing can be done about it. But with reviewable, with everybody's going to see that. Everybody's going to see what happened, and I don't want the official to be shown in a bad light either. I wanted them to have a chance to correct it, just like I wanted my team to have a chance to. That would have been a technical. We were down by 1. We would have gotten 2 free throws with an 82% free throw shooter, and we would have gotten the ball back. But now it's over. I don't think anybody wants that. I don't think the referees are going to look back on that and want that to happen. Nobody won right there. I'm not going to say nobody won right there, but I don't want it to look bad on this tournament, but I do want to fight for my girls. I do want everybody to know what happened. We made one of the greatest comebacks at this tournament ever, probably. Did it fair and square, did it with all heart. And then that's what it came down to. It's very hard for me to explain that and go in and explain that to them. I want them to leave with a great impression of this tournament, of being a Troy Trojan. And it's hard to find the words when that happened. 4.7 seconds were on the clock. 4.7. So 4.7 seconds. We covered everybody. The extra person got the ball, went and scored, and the ball game, basically.
Any other questions? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. And I want to thank y'all from Sunbelt. It's a great tournament. Nobody wanted that to end out there like that. I appreciate my administration for trying their best to get to the bottom of it. I appreciate everybody here. I hope you guys continue to have a great tournament. Thank you.
Yeah, that sucks. But hey, on to the next one. On to the WNIT, as Coach Z would say.
Let me ask you, because I haven't seen any of the post-game stuff. Was there a on to the NIT moment where it was like, all right, because I don't think Colton went out there for that, so there wasn't any animosity. There wasn't somebody that was like, badgering.
He zoomed in actually after the Appalachian State game.
Did he really?
Because
Yeah, got one here from Zoom from Colton McWilliams. Coach, what does it say about this team? You mentioned it earlier. Beating a team 3 times is hard. What does it say about this team that they were able to come out the way that they did tonight and to advance your team to the championship for the first time since 2018?
I think what's important for them to understand is that they have the ability, and that ability started with each individual woman, and then her trusting her teammates, trusting the coaching staff, and then moving forward with that game plan, whatever that game plan might be called.
because I was pulling all of these off of YouTube, because they're just press conferences and they just upload them to YouTube like after the game. Sometimes there was a really big discrepancy in like how late they were uploading some of these. Whatever intern or whoever they had uploading these went to go get popcorn or something in between games, and then was like, oh shit, I'm 3 games behind now. And so some of the games came down like a lot later. You can tell on my Twitter, it's like, this game happened a day ago. Jacob, what the fuck? That's like as soon as I could get the video basically down, because I wasn't on the Zoom call. But yeah, Colton zoomed in and he asked a question. It wasn't like hey, can I ask a question? It was like you have to type it out kind of deal. And then Colton was just recording on his local computer, I'm sure, because he's a great journalist. But yeah, that was cool. Thinking back, I could have just set that up for us too, and then whatever. But yeah,
We didn't miss much.
Yeah, we got the same result basically, plus or minus an hour.
Here's the thing: if I have a question, I'm gonna get it answered. So I didn't have any questions. I'm good. There's no reason for us to be in the Zoom call.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really didn't have any questions for the women's team. I said we were going to beat App State, no problem. We did. We moved on to JMU, and that's when we should have had some questions. Where do we go from here? Type deal.
Where do you go? I always get a kick out of that question. Like, after a team loses, you build your entire season up. You have heartbreak. You have injuries. You have illness. You have all this stuff, all this team bonding. You finish the game. It's the result you don't want. You look out in the crowd, and there's some loser journalist who's like, so where do we go from here? It's like, to the hotel. It's been a long 6 months. Okay. I got to get back on the recruiting trail in like 4 minutes. We're going to go in, going to have one of the little drinks from the mini bar and figure out who we're recruiting in the class of 2025. Like, that is the life of a college basketball coach. There's no time to for a pity party.
Isn't that why you and I kind of have fundamental like differences in press conferences, like whether or not they're good or not? Like, like because you said right, like that you need to be asking questions during press conferences and stuff, and I'm like,
I
just show up, just be there. Like,
I
who gives a shit about a press conference?
I will go to press conferences. I'm fine with that. My thing is that you go to a press conference and you're sharing your questions with everybody else. So I might have a really good question. I might get the quote of the century. I might have Coach Z throw a gem at me. But guess who also gets it? Everybody else gets it. You go to press conferences to ask the nitty questions. Coach, what did you see in the third quarter? Coach, so-and-so had 4 fouls early in the game. What did that do to your scheme? Okay, you ask those nitty questions so that when you ask later, hey, can I get a one-on-one? Can I get an exclusive? They're like, I recognize you from that press conference. I know who you are. But press conferences, for the most part, are so scripted. The coach knows what they're going to say. I've never, not never, but rarely do they ever say anything very interesting. Very rarely does a coach during a post-game press conference or a midweek press conference come out there and just drop gems on you. And if they are, it's like somebody like Mike Leach, who was a wild card. We don't really have wild cards like that. Like Trout's not going to go up there and be like, let me tell you the theory I have behind why you don't steal home. Like, that would be interesting. We're not going to get that. We're going to get, here's what the practices have looked like. So-and-so's coming good on their rehab. Why didn't we hit the ball in the first 5 innings against San Antonio? Bats just weren't awake. Like, cool. Those are just answers that anybody can get. I could give you those answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think press conferences, like you're saying, I don't think they're supposed to be for a journalist to be smart. Like that's how you get your story stolen, son. Like I've always been of the tribe that like if you want to have a good story, you should get a separate interview because then you're just wasting everybody's fucking time interviewing this coach for stories they don't need either. It's like, okay, great, Jacob, you're working on this story, but I kind of have a job too. I'm trying to get my question in. You're wasting my time.
And for beat reporters, so like this is just a difference, right? So like for Colton and Cap, who are beat reporters, they're going to ask questions because they have to ask questions because they got a story on deadline. For me, I've never really been a beat reporter like that. Somebody who's going to come on the radio and tell you what I thought of the game. And I will supplement my thoughts with the coach's thoughts, right? Like if I say, hey, Kennedy Taylor didn't shoot well in the fourth quarter, and that's why they lost the game, right? I don't know. This is just an example. And I talked to Coach Z, and I'm like, hey, Kennedy Taylor didn't shoot well in the fourth quarter. Why? Well, actually, Zimmel, we thought she shot pretty good. We just thought she didn't get the good looks. I'm going to go on air, and I'm going to say, hey, look, Coach Z says this. I don't agree with that. I think it was this. So it's just a difference of, again, you say philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah, you look at me. You and me are pretty much the same page, just for different reasons. Yeah, I mean, I have an investigative reporting background. It's not like I was going to the police at a press conference for whatever, insert whatever, and then asking them some intricate question about the department itself,
And I think it's a difference between like, a city hall press conference and a post-game press conference. Like, I just think that those are not the same thing.
Yeah, fundamentally different,
Yes.
And this guy's getting $800,000. He better know why we're losing. Somebody has to.
I have pretty good ideas.
So we talked about this too, but just the women's team definitely going to the WNIT at this point. I think that's a given. Men's team,
punch the ticket.
Kiss them goodbye pretty much because they're not doing anything after this.
Yeah, which, good for, honestly, this is probably good for TJ and the team because it's like a double-edged sword. You want to continue your season. You want to keep playing. Those guys want to keep playing. But for the coaching staff, they now get like a little bit of a break to figure out what the board looks like for recruiting. Because you got to replace Mason Harrell, and you would like to replace him with somebody that's going to come in and immediately give you minutes. Texas State has done a really good job in the past couple of years, especially on the men's basketball side, of recruiting players and not having to redshirt them. Like you recruit a guy and you say to him immediately, you are going to get playing time. You will be a 4-year insert player here, maybe a starter, maybe a role player, but you're going to get 4 years of court action.
Well, perfect example, Jordan Mason.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to figure out like who are some high school basketball players as their tournaments are kind of ramping up. We're getting to the state, we're getting to the regional tournaments in a lot of places. Who do we already have on our radar? Who can we add when we go to see, say, I don't know, the state championship games in Georgia or Louisiana or wherever, Oklahoma. Like, who else can we look at the radar who's a junior and be like, all right, we should put this guy on the board so that when he's a senior, we can kind of keep a better eye on him and continue the conversation.
They had a small national signing day announcement too, and now I can't find it. So I don't know. Maybe somebody dropped, or it was only
Got wiped.
It was only 3 guys, but I could not find it. And I messaged Chris about it, messaged Phil about it, the SIDs obviously, and didn't have a really clear answer for me. So maybe I should revisit that once TJ gets some time to kind of calm down. Obviously, I'm not going to be like, "Hey, you want to come on the podcast?"
Hey, I got a podcast. You want to come on?
Yeah.
We got to send out RSVP.
Talk to him for about a month.
Yeah, for a month. You said a month.
Probably about a month. Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Hey, welcome to the show next week, TJ. How's it going?
You're pretty proactive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to try and talk to Mason Harrell. That's kind of
Now is he officially out of the clutches of the SIDs? Is it just going to talk to him?
I think maybe. Perhaps. Yeah. I don't know. I have to hit him up off to the side. I had thank God there's a Mason Harrell out there tweet just like everybody else. And that's kind of how we started on this too. I saw a couple of tweets from my old boss, Colton Parker at KSAT, and a few other people, basically just giving it up for Mason. And Mason is a great player. He's amazing. He's definitely going to be in the Hall of Honor.
Headline of this podcast is going to be tweets that triggered Zimmel. Your boy posted a photo of his nice plants. I got 6 more inches of snow today. So I was not
Colton tweeted a picture of his roses.
Not happy to see that. I was actually again, I saw that and I almost had a couple choice words.
It wasn't just that. As Colton just got back, he mentions this on the Win Now or Get Bent podcast, but he had been his wife's Brazilian. So he went to go visit her family with her for about a month. And he was working remotely from KSAC. He's a digital executive producer. So, he's managing all when I was working there, I was doing the day-to-day kind of writing, press release comes in, or pitching stories, stuff like that. He was managing the entire team. So he's a big deal. And he came back from Brazil. He's got a great rose bush looking.
Yeah, he's checking all the boxes.
On to the next annoyance. The I-35 rivalry, Zimmel. This was game 100 in the all-time series, dating back since 1992 when UTSA's baseball program was first established. And the Bobcats pitched it away, 11-2. Furious because I had to write about it in my show this morning.
What's the all-time record now?
I think it's like 60 something. Let me see. I can look that up real quick.
Are we up or are they up?
I think we are up all time.
Okay, that's what matters most. And see, this is again.
I looked this up last night actually too. I'm kind of mad I don't remember it.
Texas State fans, it's your favorite online personality. So here's what we do when UTSA fans are pissing on our leg again.
61-39.
Okay, that's plenty of an advantage here. We can continue to say scoreboard all-time record, all right? Now, God forbid that scoreboard ever gets close, because then I don't know what we can do. But right now, we can still say all-time record, we're ahead. And we can say that we had a better season last year. We have about another 2 or 3 weeks of being like, we were better last year.
Yeah, no, it's super early. I know people were kind of hitting the panic button last night because you never want to lose to UTSA.
No, I'm hitting the panic button. Are you serious?
Yes. The thing I'm most concerned about actually is our pitching situation, which when we talked to Steve Trout earlier in the season, he said, this is the deepest bullpen I ever had. And then we're kind of losing games for the pitching. Like, it's these guys are hitting. These guys are hitting over there.
This is what I'm saying. When these coaches, sky's yellow. All right. Sounds like a plan.
Trout's another one that could convince me that the sky's yellow.
I'm not
and
saying
it's weird to be kind of mad at the baseball team because in a lot of ways it feels like the brightest star on Jackson Hall. It's like there's a lot to be like super like proud of and like looking forward to the future.
Jacob,
you're not buying it.
You're sipping the Kool-Aid, the hope Kool-Aid. No, I'm mad about everything all the time. Brightest star on Jackson Hall. What a line. No, it's like I'm not willing to say this pitching staff is ass yet, and I don't think anybody else should be saying that. But they've had injuries, which is kind of concerning this early in the season. And losing to UTSA, I think that there is a point in any baseball game, and I think any ball player will tell you that there is a point that the guys on the bench are like, "Oh, we're not coming back from this one. 11-2, yeah, this game's over."
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think you kind of, in games like that, it's a weekday game. You let the horses out of the barn a little bit. You say, all right, what's the worst that can happen? At the end of the day, they do not go to run differential when it comes to these tiebreakers. There's not like, oh, you lost to UTSA 11-2, so now you're a 7 seed instead of a 3 seed, right? Like, that's not how this works. Is it frustrating? Yes. Am I mad that we lost? Yes. Is there going to be any repercussions for this loss? Probably for the team, not really for the fans. I'm hoping we do. We play, I think, UTSA later in the season too, right?
Yeah, we play them in April in San Antonio this time, and I'll be at that game.
All right. When we're there, Jacob will bring the good juju from the podcast, and he will cheer loud, and we will win in UTSA, or we'll win in San Antonio.
That'll be good. I know nobody's going to go to that game. They don't have the same atmosphere that Texas State has. You know, like it's a Saturday game.
What is this deal with UTSA and athletics? Everybody's shitting on their athletics department. I think that they're fine. I think
they're fine, but I just know that they don't have a crowd. I mean, it's like it was kind of like us, but like it's because they're commuter school. Like nobody lives there, you know. Like
nobody lives in San Antonio.
Okay, that's fair. I work here. I know that people do live here.
Yeah.
It took me 40 minutes to get onto this podcast, by the way.
Yeah, it took 45 minutes for you to get home. 15-minute drive to get to work. Look. If you compare it to Kyle, or you compare it, or that, I'm not talking to Kyle Field. I'm talking about like whatever the Aggies call their baseball stadium.
Oh,
I don't
Bluebell?
know. The Bluebell, is that what it's called?
It's the Bluebell, whatever ballpark.
Oh, it's disgusting. And then DKR in Austin. If you compare the Dish
in Austin, yeah.
If you compare those environments to UTSA, UTSA gets blown out of the fucking water. If you compare them to us on a weekday game, they do not compare like apples to orange. It's not apples to apples. It's apples to oranges. It's not that far of a difference. Like UTSA is not like this school where there's 3 people in the stands and 2 of them just accidentally ended up at the stadium. Okay. Like it's an okay atmosphere. Like let's be surprised
that doesn't happen more at Texas State games, considering the students getting free and the bar is so close to where the ball
that's the other thing. And I will make this very quick. It's not that close to the bars. Like people are like, oh, it's so close to the. It's really not. Like you can't walk from the square to the ball field. Like, and if you are walking there, what the hell are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a long walk. It's not that close. It's close by car. It's not that close.
Well, I remember going to tailgates and stuff. You know, like people would always be like, "Oh, let's go to Jimmy's after." You know, and I'm very much like, no, I'm going to the football game after this. Mm-hmm. Mostly because I have to write about it, but also because I want to watch the football game. But guys would walk from there to the square, so it's definitely doable. I don't know if the inverse is ever true. People walk from the square to the football stadium or the ballpark, as we're talking about.
Yeah, again, long walk.
Long walk. Yeah, in the sun. I don't know, buddy.
Yeah, or at night, like up that road. I don't know. I don't trust that.
Yeah, that's true. Something to look forward to. Everybody's looking forward to football, but it's kind of like the same song and dance that we're doing, right? Like we wait till the conference championship game, onward to the NIT. Looking forward to baseball. Baseball is kind of going through those early season struggles. What's the shiny thing? Spring ball. First practice, March 23rd.
Texas State fans, man, it's the keys in front of the baby. It's college sports fans, though. That's just how it goes. Yeah, I mean. How invested are you in spring ball? Are you that like interested?
I won't care until they start playing. It's like I'm not going to make a practice. Maybe I'll make the very last one before the spring game, you know, where they get all dressed up and, you know, they probably want a bunch of media people out there ahead of the game to kind of give them some, you know,
some love.
They're trying to get a head count to see who they got to buy lunch for the next day.
Yeah, okay, I get that. I don't know. I'm interested in it. It's going to be, but I'm going to be honest with you here. All college football practices kind of look the same. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, unless you have, like, a Nick Saban type coach that's, like, walking around and you're like, oh, shit, that's Nick Saban. Like, what is he doing? Oh, he ties his shoes with his left hand and then with the right. You know what I mean? Like, unless it's somebody like that where you're, like, you're really nitpicking everything, A lot of these practices look the same. I imagine that the first handful of practices are going to look the exact same, and I'd love to talk to Kef or Colton or any of the other guys that go down there to cover it, what the difference is in the atmosphere. Because to me, it's going to be cool in the morning. Then by the time you get done, it's going to be super freaking hot because for whatever reason, right when football practices begin, God says it's time to get to 100 degrees at like 10 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, why? I don't know. Spring ball. Like, it's going to look the same. So I'm not that interested. When we play the spring game, that's when I like, all right, let's focus on that. Let's get excited for it.
And they do those free jerseys. So, yeah.
It's not free. It's $10, I think.
$10 for a jersey?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. I got Brady's last year. So that was
Really?
good. Yeah.
Oh, Kate got it for you?
Yeah. I had it.
Shout out
Well,
Kate.
hold on. I had to send our friend Kate Connors money, and then she bought it and then sent it to me, and I paid for shipping. So like, it was more of like,
she got you for shipping too.
it was more of a like she was in the like she's at the location. She bought it for me as an extension of me. It's not like she was like, oh, here's a gift for Zimmel, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but I'm just saying like let's like let's get the facts. Let's get the facts straight here.
Got you. Okay. No free rides from Kate, apparently.
No free rides for Kate. I wouldn't want it any other way, though.
Yeah. Kate's a good friend of the podcast. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth a conversation having with Colton and Kev, too, before the spring game. Like, hey, what's the difference? What's not? Because, as you were saying, I don't think a lot of things changed, to be honest. Like, who cares? But we did have God's gift to football, college football, Jake Spavital, and nothing changed. Like, it wasn't like there was a super big change across the board for practice. Yeah. It was like they're playing football. What do you mean? Like, don't come, don't bring your camera. Like that's basically what it is for us, which is super like lame for me. Like, what am I gonna do? Watch these guys work out? I got better things to do than that.
Some of us don't. Real football guys will watch 18 to 22-year-olds lift weights and be like, oh, that's my boys. Gotta love my team.
Love my team.
Love my team.
Well, I think that's also why I never really covered a spring game, because I was like, I'm running a newspaper. Like, I have better things to do.
I didn't. Went to a couple of them. It was fine. Got a good picture.
They had, I think the thing that is kind of cool is they did have like pretty open media availability. So like a few times before the spring game, GJ is going to be able to be like, hey, this is what I'm seeing out there. This is what, we're trying to run. It's not going to be like an Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers headline like that dropped this week,
I was at a spring game, might have been my junior year, and they had an open bar.
Really?
I kind of remember that. I don't remember a lot from that spring game, but
suddenly I want to go to the spring game. Oh,
I kind of remember that. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe it wasn't an open bar and I just didn't pay for my drinks, but I did drink a little bit. More than I probably should have.
I went to
took a photo with an old man.
I went to the spring game with you for Spavital's spring game.
Yeah, I took a photo with. Yeah. Do you remember the old man I took a photo with?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good day.
Good day. Number 69. Stranger just saw you in his grandson's jersey.
Uh-huh. Hope that guy's okay. Hope he went through the pandemic all right.
Yeah. I'm sure he did. He's wearing 69.
Yeah. The most hygienic of the positions.
Retire that guy's jersey.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That pretty much does it for us. The last thing I wanted to talk about is I do have a challenger officially for my Jacob wants to challenge anybody who covers the Texas State Bobcats to a 100-meter race. Of course, friend of the podcast, Colton McWilliams accepting. So I'll have to figure out that the next time I'm in San Marcos.
I asked Jacob off air, I said, have you been working out for this? And he's been doing wind sprints. So if Colton thinks that Jacob's just been like drinking beer and rolling out of bed to do this podcast, he's sorely mistaken.
Well, he's right, but he's also incorrect,
I've got my money on Jacob in this sprint. This is going to be hilarious. I hope somebody gets a video of it, and I hope that we get it on Twitter, because this is going to be all-time slow shit. This is peak. This is peak college media bullshit. I love it.
Well, it's not like I'm going to challenge Dominic Yancey to a 100. I'm not an idiot. I'm challenging reporters that cover the team to this.
I want to stretch it out. I want to give me anybody. I'll take anybody. I'll take the.
It would be funny to see me race against Dominic Yancey, though, just to see how good he is. I mean, he's crazy. how good he is.
I want to see you run against GJ.
GJ would probably kick my ass too. He's doing pull-ups right now in the gym. He's working out with the team.
Hey, pull-ups don't translate to run.
You don't think so?
No. When's the last guy that did a pull-up that was like really fast?
That's true. I will say I went to go to cover a few basketball games in San Marcos, and I saw Colton McWilliams for the first time in person. I hadn't seen this guy since, we went home
pandemic.
for spring break. Exactly, yeah. So like spring 2020, I hadn't seen this guy. So it's like almost 3 years basically that I hadn't seen him in person. Looks great. So he must be doing something.
I got Jacob.
Thanks for your confidence, buddy.
Somebody's got to give it to you.
Well, Squaring Around, episode 15. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.